Win the art of debating, arguments. As per 1936 classic, Dale Carnegie told that there is one way under the high heaven which best out for argument, which is to avoid it. So there is only one good solution under the whole heaven, as per Dale Carnegie, to avoid it. And same time, Winston Churchill, the famous orator, told that of all the skills bestowed upon man, the none is better than the oratory skills. So we have a contradiction between Dale Carnegie and Winston Churchill, and we are going to go with Churchill this time. We are going to talk about how to win the art of debating and how to win every argument by Mehdi Hasan. He's a famous broadcaster or part of channels and debater. He's famous among that. So he is going to talk about multiple tips and tricks from his experience. So let's get started. So arguments, as we mentioned, quick summary, book will talk about tips and tricks based on the experience from Mehdi Hasan of his long experiences. Winning an audience, how he used to win the audience. Feeling machines, which thinks. We are consider ourselves as rational beings, which we are thinking machines rather than feeling machines. But if you follow behavioral economics and all, we understand that we are basically feeling machines. So we'll talk there. The secret of three, which Steve Jobs used to present iPhone, Martin Luther King used to present his dream speech, and Lincoln used to present his by the people for the people. We'll talk there. And we'll talk about Donald Trump's, the famous American president, strategy on debating and conversation, how he just knock off their opponents by using gish galloping. We'll go there much. Importance of listening, even though arguments is more about talking as per our understanding. Here we'll talk about listening. Laughing in arguments, it's not sarcasm. It's not something else. It's just laughing have an advantage in arguments as well. We'll go there. Zinger throws, similar to the basketball zinger throws to just make your opponent off guard. There is zinger in arguments. We'll talk there. Confidence, even though fake it and make it, we used to talk there. But here it is, confidence is necessary to win an argument. Keep calm and carry on, even in the heat of the debate. Keep calmness and composure is more important to winning. We'll talk about some of the greatest orator of all times, Demosthenes from great Greece, and his ruthless practice, how to become a dumb or a non-orator to the world's greatest speech or orator in the world. And doing some homeworks, more there much. So let's get started. Myself from his Welcome to Book.tips. Part 1, Fundamentals. So as I mentioned, the book has three parts. First one is the fundamentals of argument. Second thing talk about time-tested tricks, which is tricks which Mehdi Hasan found himself from his long career. And part 3 is working in background, how you can improve your things. So it's a good way of learning fundamentals and then tricks and then how to apply. So first part of the fundamentals is winning over an audience. More than what we knew, tell what matters to the audience. Because whatever you know under the high heaven, it doesn't matter until somebody cares. H.G. Wells. So here, more than what you know, just tell what matters to them. Connect the dots. What it means is that if you're totally telling completely a new topic, people cannot connect. But if you're trying to engage it, or you're trying to connect the gap in their knowledge, you can easily win the audience and grab their attention and then go into your side. You have to be more adaptive and agile. Like you cannot go with a proper plan on an argument, because you should be somewhere to agile how the opponent is talking. Based on that, we have to be agile and adaptive. Napoleon Bonaparte used to tell that he used to make every war he fought, he used to make too much planning, but none of the war as per Bonaparte is go as per the plan. So we still have to do the plan, but you have to be adapt and agile to win over the audience. So first, so there are some tricks. I'll just know your audience. First, you understand where they are coming from. Know your audience. Grab their attention. That is really important. Like initial attention or first impression is the best impression. Is to tell that goldfish have a 9 second of attention span. But if you talk about human beings, it's somewhere around magic of 7 plus or minus 2. We are somewhere around 5. So the best way to grab attention in that 5 second or a 7 second magic number is to, one option is to start with a question, so that their curiosity, their brain will start engage with you. Start with a story, because that's one of the important things, is storytelling, because we are hardware, our brain is hardware to be engaged in the story more than anything, because everything we learn also it just fill into a story, even though we purposefully don't know that. Praise the audience. That's another part. Like when you start, you are in some country or some place, you try to praise the people there with genuinely or somehow little manipulation. That also get engaged them, or talking in their language, even though English is the main language, maybe it's another language. You talk to them or you just wish them. Get personal. Just make the topic something personal to them. That way you can engage the audience. More there in the book, but I'm stopping there. Part 2, feelings, not just facts. So here, as we mentioned in the initial summary, we are dealing with the creations of emotions than logic. Dale Carnegie. When we are talking to the people, just think that you're not talking to the people of logic. We are talking to the people of emotions. To move the people, you need to them to be care as we go there. So as per Aristotle, the famous Greek philosopher, there is 3 parts in the whole speech which will engage. First one is ethos, which is something related to a personal character of a person. Second one is pathos, about feelings and all, and logos, which talk about logic and reasoning and all. So Aristotle is telling, having an equal importance of all these 3, but Mathiassen's take it one step further and is telling that pathos supersede other 2. So pathos is the best medium, or the feelings is the best medium to just convey the logic. So Antonio Damasio, the famous neurosurgeon or neuroscientist, who just make like mind-blowing discoveries on the brain and all, he's to tell that humans are not either thinking machines or feeling machines. Instead, humans are feeling machines that think. So even his famous book Descartes, he mentioned empathy. The people who has some issues with the prefrontal cortex, when they have removed the prefrontal cortex, they talk about some of the subjects. His name is Eliot and all. When it was removed, that empathy part of that person, he still can think and make decision, but without empathy, without that pathos, the life is miserable. It is something like an uninvited spectator of life, because you cannot empathize or feel, you cannot make a decisions. Those who tell the story rule the society, as per Plato. So it's a potent method of just conveying the idea. So if you just can get the feeling through a story, that is also you can just convey that feelings there. And another way is to use the language, some words, some tonalities. Even as we mentioned, the words are only very small percentage. We'll go in this into coming to that percentages later. But more than that, the pitch, the tone, and how we are presenting, how the amplitude of the voice, everything matters. So that matches the feelings. Even the famous Osho Rajani used to just take a breaks between his speeches, and people just fall on that gaps and then just take them further from there. So feelings, not just facts. Feelings are more important than facts. Show your receipts. Because in arguments, actually it's a rebellion of ideas. Who win really matters, but it's not a win of power. It's somehow the manifestation of knowledge is power. So show your receipts. What really matters is that facts, which is somehow like a more strong facts, which will just take your opponent off guard. Solid factual foundation. If you have your solid facts based on which you are trying to make your argument, that is really important, or that is going to really help you to win the argument. So just knowledge about facts doesn't degrade the logic actually. So it does not degrade the logic there. So pathos is a door, as we mentioned in the chapter before. Pathos, or the feeling or empathy, is a door there. But if you enter the door to that audience and to the people, to win there, you need logic, you need logos there. So Quran says, bring your proof if you are truthful. Even the religious topics are not more based on logic, it's more on faith. But still, Holy Quran says like that. And Holy Bible but test everything, hold fast what is good. So somehow, whatever you tell, if you can back with strong foundations or facts, which we call receipts, then you can really win the argument. There we go with the play the ball. And before that also, time of the receipts is also important. Like for example, you go to an argument and you know that okay, this point or this fact is going to break your opponent, but you don't have to throw it just first in the beginning like that. Just try to understand the proper timing of the receipts is also important, otherwise it will not be, or it will not land there properly. So go to the chapter 4, play the ball and the man. So here, play the ball and the man, it's something talking about sports, where more than taking it personal, play the ball, just take it the sport part first. So it's more like a take it professionally than personally. But here, play the ball and the man. So ad hominem, like character assassination, is one of the important trick used by Donald Trump. He used it against Hillary Clinton, he used it against Joe Biden, a lot of people. So somehow Aristotle, if you go back to Aristotle again, 3 parts he mentioned: ethos, pathos and logos. Ethos, the first one, it is based on a personal credibility or a character of a person. So if you try to just break that character, then one of that leg is gone, then that is going to give you some level of edge there. So same way, play the ball and the man, but you don't have to be abusive. You can be more like circumstantial, things can be better. And something like if you do, for example, if somebody is making to put an argument, but if you tell him what you are telling actually contradict with your character, you present it in such a fact that okay, you are telling this, but you actually tell something else before, you did something else before which contradict to you. Somehow that will break the ethos of that person. So play the ball and the man. We are going very short here, but I'm going only the critical parts. Chapter 5, listen, don't just speak. Important, because argument we all think about, it's all about talking. Somehow yes, but without listening, without understanding what the question is, without understanding where the opponent is coming from, you cannot win an argument. The book talks about something, I cannot go in much detail, but something about a debate where George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton talking about a country's debt and how both people deal with that situation. George H.W. Bush was somehow tired and he was not properly listening, but in comparison, Bill Clinton, one of the most charming and most famous of American president after Lincoln, I would tell, in terms of character and all. He somehow in some of his biographies to tell that when Clinton was with somebody, he used to forget the surroundings. When even it is a big party and Clinton is talking to one person, he just forgot all the other people around it, even it is of a high profile people or anything like that. He's that much an important listener. So there is two part, hearing and listening. It's not the same thing. We are the people born with 2 ears, and you are, without voluntary effort, you are going to hear a lot of things. But that's not the thing what we are talking here. Listening is something about absorbing, comprehending, and also somehow processing that information. So that's listening is something, it's an active thing. Hearing is somehow a passive manner. So open your ears, it's an old adage, open your ears before you open your mouth. That's actually the message of the chapter as well. Listen, don't just speak. Just keep your ears open. So the book talks about two types of listening. One is critical listening. One is the best form of listening where you keep an open mind. You don't have to be just busy with your mind thinking about how to reply to that person. Keep an open mind. Clear your mind. Just clear the clutter of your mind. Then full attention to it. Take notes also. Book talks about the note-making importance of Richard Branson, Bill Gates. And outside the book, I can talk about Leonardo da Vinci and Thomas Edison and Albert Einstein. Maybe hundreds of people like that. So somehow note-taking will be important when you are listening also. So you can just organize this one, organize what opponent is talking about. So you can then reply to that properly. Critical listening, which as we mentioned, it is when opponent is speaking. But there is another type of listening when audience is speaking. That is called empathetic listening. That's what Clinton used when the conversation there with George W. Bush in front of audience. Nelson Mandela, the famous South African president and the fighter, freedom fighter, he used to even talk to the prison guards, try to understand how they look at the world, and try to understand, even to use that in his fight to get the democracy. He even used to ask his followers to do the same. So that's important. So listening, even Stephen Covey in his 7 Habits of Listening talk about the same. But generally, that's what it is. Listen, don't just speak. 6. Make them laugh. Laughing can be little bit tricky. Laughing is not appropriate for everything, but sometimes laughing creates somehow a curiosity and a dilemma, and another occasion it can calm down the things. Once people laugh, like especially when they talk, that when there are people who laugh together, they almost share the same thinking, like that. So also when the people are laughing, that's one good sign that they're listening. Tell almost anything, they will accept you. So amusement, if I tell you something which is very much unbelievable, I can grab your attention. Same like that, amusement, enthusiasm, like bewilderment, all these things it can create. So when we laugh, reward centers of our brain, especially dopamine, that will be engaged. So that will create. So people share laughter, see the world in the same way. That's what I tell in the beginning. So ridicule is a potential weapon, but you should be taking care of carefully, because the famous Greek Cicero used to do that, and a lot of people try to, but you have to be a little bit tricky. Even the book talks about Bill Gates' TED talk on malaria. He's presenting in front of a people and he's telling that we use American as a rich people, we used to spend too much money on baldness drugs and all. We don't spend that much in malaria. Malaria is considered as a poor people disease, like that. Then he start talking about, okay, I have come here with some mosquitoes and I have already put that in the auditorium, but don't worry, those doesn't carry malaria. So somehow he's trying to present an interesting subject in front of the audience, but even the great or genius or the nerd, or somehow like a nerdic genius or some, he used to put that laughter in to get their audience there. So self-deprecating humor is good in terms of that, and do be spontaneous and do be expressive as well. So you should not feel like it is just not fitting there properly. Your laughter should somehow come in spontaneous way, then only people can take it natural that way. So don't be offensive, don't go over the top of it. So you have to be balanced on that. That's about the chapter 6. Then we go to the second section of the book, Tricks of the Trade, where rule of 3. The famous Steve Jobs in 2007, when he was presenting iPhone, he put it like, I'm here to present 3 devices here today. First one, iPod. Second one is a phone. Third one is an internet communication device. He take on his whole presentation, majority of that using that argument. At the end, he put it all together and tell that it's all one device, iPhone. Even the same Steve Jobs, one of the most famous commencement speech in the whole history, which is on Stanford University by Steve Jobs, he started like, I'm here to tell three stories, no big deal, just 3 stories. So there is another thing there about 3. Even the James Bond movie Goldfinger is just a book from the book. It's telling, when it happened once, it is happenstance. When it happens twice, it is coincidence. But when it is happening in 3, then your enemy is in action. So even we talk about past, present, future, birth, life, death, lot of things. There is, even in the Latin, it's called that omne trium perfectum. Everything that is present in 3 is perfect. Lincoln, by the people, for the people, to the people. Churchill, Cicero, Obama, Martin Luther King. Even the Luther King is free at the last, thank God we are free at the last. So, as we mentioned in the initial part, the George Miller of the famous Harvard have an interesting study talking about short-term memory. Our short-term memory can only keep up to 5 to 9 chunks of information. So magic number of 3 is somewhere we can easily grab attention to. And another part of that is that somehow our brain is more give attention when something there is a pattern there. Right? It's like a pattern recognition machine. So if it's happening 1, No, if it's happening twice, if it's happening three, it tried to capture a trend there, a pattern there. So that how it will be more interested to take care of that. So judo move, yes, if you really take it, it's a judo martial art. Yes, we mean the same. But Mehdi Hasan is not a judo fighter or something, but he used to present judo in such a way that judo is something like, if you understand, or if you watch martial arts, or if you already know it, you understand that there is a flexibility and yielding. If you punch, you can take that punch to yield the opponent. You take that, even in the Wing Chun and all, Kung Fu and Aristotle, that take that punch and take that force to unbalance the opponent. So essential principle of judo is Kijushi, which tell that level, pull down, destroy and demolish. Let the opponent fall on their own weight. In our argument ways, it's something like use the opponent argument to fail himself, put himself in trap using his own argument. Something like a judo there. So maximum efficiency, minimum effort, but don't overdo it. That's what Mehdi Hasan tells. You have to be flexible to win the debate. So that's about 8, and we go to 9. Art of Zinger. Zinger has explained it's a fast ball throw in basketball to which will make the opponent or the other side off guard. But in come to the argument, it is something like you are going to present something that will make your opponent speechless. That's a Zinger. Diogenes, the famous Greek orator or a philosopher or a thinker, he used to tell that even the Alexander the Great, he tried to impress Diogenes, and he was just putting his in front of Alexander. Alexander, go and ask Diogenes what you want. So Diogenes told, can you just move away? Let me enjoy the sun. That makes the great Alexander speechless. Same Diogenes, to one of the famous philosopher or the teacher of the same Alexander, Plato, he was explaining about an interesting part of idea, how the idea by interesting about a cup and a table. And Diogenes was just come to that event, and he tried to just bully Plato, and Plato tried to bully back. He's telling, your cup is empty, or emptiness of cup, like that. And Diogenes something tell that before the emptiness, can you tell me what proceeded before the emptiness of the cup and table? It's a long story, I'm just trying to put it. Somehow that make the famous philosopher Plato speechless. So to use the art of Zinger, you have to be little prepared, be prepared, but keep them short and pick your moment. Because to act the Zinger, you have to throw it at the right time, on the right speed, on the right opponent. So here, chapter 10, setting booby traps. Also, it's similar to a trap. Book start with a Rambo movie of Sylvester Stallone. When in the first series of his movie, Rambo is asking how many people did Rambo kill. And Mehdi Hasan himself tell that none of them he killed. Instead, he was inviting everything to the trap, and they are killing themselves on that. So somehow here, this is something like a trap where you are inviting your opponent and they fall themselves on that. Something similar to the Zinger, but it's more specific here. Trap them in their own words. Trap them with contradiction. That also off guard. Trap them with a question, not able to answer. So such things are booby traps. The book talks about Donald Trump and all, talking about COVID-19 and all. Some explanations are there. So setting booby traps is important. Beware of the Gish Galloper. Here Donald Trump is the best example for this. He used to put too much facts on somebody that Gish galloping is something like after Duane Talbot Gish, an evolutionary denying biochemist. This technique was used by him, and later it is known as Gish Gallop technique, like that. So he put too much misinformation that even the opponent not even able to understand and digest even cannot reply. So somehow in such an audience setting, when somebody else is listening, when something is off guard, like even journalism is not completely about facts, and this one it can be more about fabrications and manipulations also. So you have to best way to just to oppose the Gish galloping, if somebody is using their technique against you, the best way is to just take the crux of that Gish galloping and just break the chain of that, or the card of houses. Just take that key part of it just to make it off guard, because otherwise it is very difficult to just break a Gish galloping thing. So that's about that. And then part 3, behind the scenes. So here, confidence is everything, for sure. Confidence is important in any settings, especially you cannot lose your composure. So confidence is something like a belief in yourself, which you have to capture, and all these things. So somehow you can fake it and make it, but it is really important that you visualize your success. And there are some exercises and all which book is talking about also, which you can go through as well. But somehow that is also really important as well. So confidence is an important part of the technique. Keep calm and carry on. So calmness, like even it is a heat of the debate, even it is something like the opponent is too much on you, you have to still keep that calmness and composure. Otherwise there is a great chance that you are going to fail the argument. Practice make perfect. Here multiple peoples are mentioned in this part, but one of the main part is talking about Demosthenes here, the famous Greek. He was born with speech impediment and all, but the practice he has put is trying to mention in the book as he even go to solitude by shaving half of his head, so that with shame he will not go out, and to have his breath problem of not getting long breath, he just climb a hill and then practice a speech. And even something have a problem with pronouncing the word, he used to put pebbles in his mouth and practice a speech. You know where he is going. So that much. And even the many of the people who analyze Demosthenes tell that he is the best the world has ever known in terms of speech. But if you look at his early age, he was not that much. So practice make perfect. Similarly, Churchill used to practice a lot of times, and Luther King, even his famous speech he used was even updating his speeches till 4 a.m. in the morning and all. So practice makes perfect also. So practice yourself. Do your homework. That's more about research and understanding, Googling. So trying to go through, make your proper homework. That's also really important for winning an argument. So conclusion, that's the last part of the thing. So grand finale. Also, there is no much things specific about other than what we talk, but generally talks about how you end an argument is also really important. So beware about that grand finale, that climax, that conclusion. That what we are presenting in an argument, that's going to stay there in the vacuum. So try to use that one. So that's the end of the book. Thank you for watching. The Art of Debating, Every Pursuing the Argument by Mehdi Hasan. So I will add the link of the book here in the description. Please try to purchase a book. It will be worth buying it. So until we come across with the next book, Feel free to review other books of other from the channel, subscribe, and until then, bye for now. Thank you.